Oh my goodness. Okay, so however long that show was, I'm looking at a total recorded time of an hour and 50 minutes. It took us a little bit to get through that, but that's okay because we're here with the comic book community that honestly I like strive to get to in our show. Because this is my favorite part of the show. Because we're talking with the people that care the most.
It's my favorite part of the show because the super hot lights are off.
That's as well. Every time we're going to mention that the garage is too hot. But here's the thing. Pretty soon you guys are going to be complaining about it being too cold.
Turn the lights back on.
Can you please turn the lights on?
I can't wait for that.
It's easier to warm up than to cool down.
Exactly.
Hey, you're not putting ice in your pants this time.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so we're going to chat about something fun here because, we talk a lot about comics. I deal with comic books every single day. I literally I was watching Gary Vee recently and he was talking about the hustle and the grind. And one tip that he gave some people that were like, how do you find something that you could be passionate about that you can invest your time into and grow? And what he said was, you got to find something that you enjoy doing when you're not working, because if you enjoy it as a passion, it won't feel like work. For example, he said that when he's not doing stuff for his business, he's on eBay shopping baseball cards to flip. He's hunting. He's going to garage sales. He's doing business stuff. And I find myself still doing that. When I'm not doing the mail call, when I'm not doing edits and stuff, and I'm not DMing people back on Instagram, I'm still doing comic book stuff. What about you?
I'm at least thinking about comic books.
All the time?
All the time. And I don't know what to say other than I really can't control it. It feels like I want to get disconnected, but I can't. It's always on the back of my mind somehow, processing a book. It's the thoughts of comics. It's interesting.
Comics are on my mind a lot lately, especially since since we started doing this show, recently really got back into them as a hobby. So I've been spending a lot of my downtime reading, just consuming content.
One thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of times that we're discussing topics and we're mentioning random issues, and then Ryan will peep up and be like, oh yeah, this early Fantastic Four, this happened. That happened today. We're just chatting about some random OG Fantastic Four, and you went through a lot of that run.
I have been trying to read the entire run of Fantastic Four on Marvel Unlimited, and I'm around the 300 mark right now, and I dropped that app a while ago. It's one more monthly payment I can't keep up with. But in the, you were talking about the Thing wearing a helmet or something earlier, and it reminded me of when he was cured of his rockiness, and Reed Richards made him a Thing suit that he wore, and he was just the Thing, even though it wasn't him. He could take off the whole costume and be Ben Grimm walking around.
I love that you just randomly knew that kind of stuff.
I thought that's what you were talking about. I was excited for a minute, and then it turns out that nope, it was in the 375 issue or whatever. That's past where I made it.
Okay, so that got me thinking you guys are always talking about comics. You're always thinking about comics, but you guys do other things. Let's chat about that. Ryan, what do you like to do when it's not comics?
This may not be family appropriate, but I like to think of myself as a, there's got to be a better word for this. But
Master debater.
No, not that bad.
Cunning linguist.
Story slut is the word that comes to mind. It's a phrase I use to describe myself. I really like storytelling, fiction.
Ooh, okay.
I'm always consuming some kind of fiction.
Okay.
Whether it's movies, television, comics, books, video games, one of those. I like stories. I like storytelling. I fancy myself a writer, so in my mind, all of this is kind of practice.
You definitely started writing way more on the blog recently, which I assumed was something that you enjoyed doing, because all of a sudden I'm like, oh damn, you're pumping out all this different content. Writing must be something in the back of your mind that you're just constantly wanting to do. Scripting, I mean.
Yeah, and I see consuming stories as a way of kind of getting ready to write more.
What about you, Jeff?
It's tough because
you're a dad, so I know you're other than being a dad.
Yeah, when I'm not doing comics, it's usually because other things are pulling away from comics. It's hard for me to step away myself. I find out my space is down in an office basement, so there's no windows. So it's I have to just think, okay, how long have I been down here? Step outside. Okay, it's daylight, nighttime. I lose track. So, but when I'm not doing that and I get pulled away, it's just spending time with the kiddos and their hobbies and trying to spend time with them. And, but I do stuff around the house. I'm building a deck right now, and that's really cool because I'm just learning how to do that. I built a lean-to barn, like a 3-stall horse barn, and I had to Google that.
Jeff, you deal with horses a lot. I found that one of the most interesting things.
That seems to be like the topic we should talk about when Jeff
loves horses.
Yeah, like Jeff's doing all kinds of things. I'm sitting here reading books and playing video games, but Jeff's like doing things.
Yeah, my lovely wife is into horses, and so are my kids. And God bless them, because she's an amazing writer, and as passionate I am for comics, she is for horses. Okay, and my kiddos, got Olivia and Brian Itkin. What's up, guys? Give you a shout out here, little junior gurus. They got their own little passions. My son plays Pokemon Go. I play Pokemon Go with him.
Dude, there was a time a few weeks ago where you're like, oh, hold on one second. And you stopped and answered your phone and you're like, you got it? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. How did you get it? Like you're asking us like Pokemon Go questions. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like you're being such a good dad. Taking time out to just like chat Pokemon Go with your son in between takes.
If I called my dad to talk about Pokemon when I was a little kid, he'd have been like, go mow the lawn. Go do the dishes. Have you done your homework yet?
My dad would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think he did. And then my daughter's she started her own YouTube channel, Gotcha Life. Like she's got this little app where she animates characters, and she's really big into that and just helping her along. I mean, they all got their own. That's what's cool. I mean, I'm in a household with other people who have their interests, so I get to get caught up in their interests and support them. And I don't know, it's fun. Plus, fantasy football starting now, so that's gonna be taking up a lot of my time.
Oh, that's right, dude. I got to get on my team.
On Thursday,
dude, my teams.
The draft.
Dude, the
Sports ball.
draft. I'm worried about the draft.
I know, man. I don't think the Lakers are going to make it this year.
Dude, you don't think the Lakers are
Football.
going to make it? They're not going to be able to make those like freaking home run hits, man.
I missed the
right.
draft today. I had to have a friend draft for me because we were shooting this. And it's a comic dealer draft around the country with a bunch of dealers, like 10 of us, and we all do our fantasy football. And tomorrow's Thursday, right? It's to kick off the NFL season.
That's right, dude. I forgot.
Oh,
exciting.
dude, I'm counting down, man.
Of course,
So
it's
ready?
Sunday when you hear this.
I got my jersey I'm going to put on. And
Me too. I got so many jerseys to choose from.
Ryan actually wears his jerseys underneath his shirts here.
That's right. I don't want to advertise the fact I'm a diehard sports fanatic.
But here's the thing, Ryan, you always get those like triple, like quadruple XL ones because you like to wear them as a nighty,
That's right.
right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100% true.
That's right. Like if it's touching the ground, it's good for Ryan.
That's right.
Okay, so for me, I actually have a couple new things. I like to try new things. And one thing that I'm actually recently started is knitting. Just randomly. My partner, she is a big knitter and she's always doing it. I think it's the freaking most adorable thing. You're just chatting and she's knitting. You know, she's not old or anything. She's like my age, so no worries there. But no, she's like really good at knitting. She made me a hat and I thought it was like the coolest thing to be able to like make things
Practical,
for people.
yeah.
Yeah. And she's so quick at it. So I'm like, oh, like I would like to like learn how to do that. So we're like, going through like Buffy and watching shows and stuff. And it's a really nice thing to like do with your hands. And I find myself thinking about doing the act of it. And it's actually quite pleasing. I really enjoy it.
Like
So,
knitting with the needles? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Like yarn and shit.
What are you currently knitting right now?
Right now I'm trying to make an iPad holder for this.
out of yarn?
Yeah.
Is that sturdy enough?
Not really. It's more like a slipcase, but like,
Okay, that makes
whatever.
sense.
It's just, that's my first project. It's
Right?
going to
You
turn
gotta
out
do something
terrible. So I
kind of
gotta do
square and boxy. Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Square
safe.
boxy. So I'm going for that, but maybe soon.
Blanket maybe is a nice easy one, right? That's a
Something big.
bigger square.
Yeah. There's that. And then I also like, I was like taking on projects, it's one of those things, try to like finish something. So I started painting, I once in a while will just like take on a piece of art that I want to like replicate in my own way. And I'll start painting. And painting's kind of a fun thing because it's all layers. It's kind of like Photoshop. So you can make as many mistakes as you want. You just got to let it dry and then you just keep on going over it. So right now I'm working on a Midsummer painting.
Huh.
Yeah.
Still haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Midsummer yet?
Nah, I don't go to the movies.
Oh.
Unless it's Avengers.
Okay,
or
so
Star Wars.
one other thing that, just because I brought it up here, you mentioned that Hereditary was a fantastic horror movie, and I gave you crap for it. 'Cause I'm like, oh, really? Because I thought it was silly.
It was in my top 5. I watched
Yeah.
that movie like the day before we did that video.
Dude, it's like my favorite movie now. Like, I talk about that movie so much.
Frequently. And I haven't seen it since that one time I watched it. I barely remember that movie now.
I own it on Blu-ray,
Cool.
and it's fantastic. And Midsummer is another fantastic horror film. There's got to be other words. It's impeccable. That's a better.
It's in
better
daylight too, right? It's a
Yeah.
bright horror movie, which is weird.
horrific in sunlight.
I thought we were just talking about horror movies. Like if you just give us the
Well,
open room and the open mic,
hey.
it just comes back to horror.
What are we talking about? We're talking about personal stuff
right.
that doesn't have to do with comic books. I'm a big horror fan. I'm regularly like wasting my time looking for horror movies to watch and then falling asleep and not actually watching anything. because Netflix and Amazon Prime is just a black hole of content, and they don't organize it well.
I spend like 2 hours looking for something and then 10 minutes watching it before I fall asleep. I'm the exact same way.
That's how it goes. Also going through Friends, which you know what?
No.
Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. That's what I thought. I thought Friends was a bad show. It's not a bad show. It's a really good show. And I bet if you started watching it, you'd be like, oh, damn, I was wrong. Because typically laugh tracks, if it has a laugh track, I don't like it. I don't want anything to do with it. I can't stand Big Bang Theory. It's hard for me to watch.
Well, Big Bang Theory's trash, but I'm thinking like Seinfeld has a laugh track, and Seinfeld is perfection.
Yeah, Seinfeld's great. But you know what? Friends, oh my gosh. This show was, there's a reason why it was doing so well for so long. And I had to apologize to people just like I had to apologize to you about Hereditary. This show was fantastic. Like, it was really good. I was going to say fantastic again. Damn it.
I ferociously watched Friends
Really?
when it first came out. So I actually had to wait for the freaking show to come out. There was no, DVR at the time. But man, I was there and I watched replays for the longest time. That was definitely one of the shows that and Seinfeld. They were at the same time.
Of course.
I was probably like 10 years old or something when Friends ended. I don't remember when it ended, but I remember my parents were like, we need to sit down. We need to make time. We're going to sit down to watch the final episode of Friends because this is going to be a day that you remember for the rest of your life. I was there when I saw the last episode of Friends live, and I don't remember it. I don't remember. I remember that it happened, that I watched it, but I couldn't tell you what happened in it because I was bored as hell.
I remember watching the last episode of Seinfeld and being disappointed.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing.
I remember being, when Seinfeld ended, I remember going, because at the time I was living in New York and I was going to a Catholic church. So I had to go to church 3 times a week with my class. I'm no longer Catholic, by the way. But I would go to 2 sermons in the basement with the class. There's a whole class, so no worries. I didn't go to the basement by myself, but I went in the basement with the whole class, and it's like a mini church underneath the cathedral, because this is like serious cathedral, like, the stained glass and everything, giant statues and all that in New York. And then on Fridays, we would go to the main service with like the pews and everything, and I would do the altar boy stuff and help with the communion, the wine, the whole thing. But I remember it being so boring and just tuning out for an hour every single Friday, except for the Friday after Seinfeld ended, and the very strict priest who like did not go off the book at all. It was all like hymns and like very much like exactly what you would think a Catholic church would be like. But he like had to give his like 2 cents about Seinfeld. And I remember like, oh, what did he say? Seinfeld, and being like a little kid, like I'm talking 3rd grade, and being like, whoa, he's talking about something that I actually know what he's talking about right now and paying attention. And he like, even Seinfeld broke through to like the religious sector and entertained people that otherwise probably didn't spend much time on television.
I didn't find that show until like last year, year before. It was funny. You were watching it as a little kid back when it was on.
It was like, I wasn't like super into it, but it was on. And by the way, Jerry Seinfeld's a huge comic book collector. I believe he is.
No way.
Yeah, he owns Superman.
Oh, he
1.
loves Superman. That's true. He had he had Superman all over his apartment in that show.
Yeah, he actually had a Superman 1 in some scenes, I believe.
You know what other show I binge watch at night outside of Office now is Frasier.
Frasier's really good, man.
I watched to start it. I never saw it.
Oh my god, you gotta watch it. I watch Frasier every night with my wife because she loves it too. And I gotta tell you, for probably years, that's the only thing we fell asleep to.
Really?
Was Frasier. Outside of, obviously.
You ever watch Cheers?
Yes, of course. Yeah, but also, I mean, not replays, but like back in the day, I used to watch it.
A lot of people don't know that Cheers is connected to Frasier. It's like Frasier was a regular spin-off character that went to the bar in Cheers and then got his own spinoff and then had probably a more successful show than Cheers.
I don't know about more successful.
I don't know if it was more successful, but Frasier was pretty popping, man.
Cheers was huge.
Cheers was a landmark television show. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, and there was less on TV at the time, so probably. But Frasier was actually not that much on either yet. But
wasn't that on before or after Friends? It was one of the two. I'm pretty sure it was after Friends. It was like it went Friends and Frasier. Could be wrong about that.
What a lineup!
I know, right?
What a glorious time to have been alive.
All right, what else? I want one more thing. One more thing that you guys do outside of writing and being a dad and being a carpenter, Jeff.
Being a whole bunch of cool stuff.
It's like I'm making stairs.
I built my entire house that I live in.
I wish I could, man.
Yeah. Not me.
I don't know what else. I'm trying to think.
That's it. It's comic books.
I watch a lot of TV, man, too. Jesus.
I'm doing all these videos with John's Comics with Kids. We're doing a bunch of different like top 5 videos, and we started this new series that we do every other week or so, where me and John and our third host Perry each pick a movie, and we watch 3 movies and discuss it on a live stream. And then we're doing our Lost live stream that we've been doing forever, it seems like. And I've been spending a lot of time watching video content for these breakdown things that I'm doing with John on the live stream. So it feels like my spare time is spent watching stuff a lot lately. But between that and like video games, it's rare that I have enough time for comics, let alone, my day job or my night job.
That's cool. Making YouTube content that has nothing to do with comic books, that still counts.
It's a nice refresher. It's a nice break from comic books.
Just chilling with your homies.
With the comic book community still too. So it's good to have everybody talking about off-topic stuff like we're doing right now. It's fun.
What about you, Jeff? Give me something else. You were an artist, dude.
I mean, yeah, I went to school for art, commercial illustration, and went to Hollywood, did some storyboarding and some stuff.
I know, right? This guy's got a...
That feels like its own show topic. Like, we can't just squeak that into this. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I really got into conceptual art.
It's good, too.
It's like finding out Russ worked on video games.
Yeah. And
who are you people?
We all had lives. We've had long lives. We've tried stuff. And
imagine that. What's that like?
It's a first step, man.
That's right.
Baby steps. But yeah, that was... I don't get to draw as much, but if there's one thing I can lose myself in is just a piece of paper and a pencil, and I can literally hours can disappear. And I don't get to do it as much, but I always tell myself that it's like later in life I'll spend more of that time really focusing. But there's a children's book I might, if I had more time, I'd work on. There's a guy I know who I was working with, and then this kind of happened, and it's taken away a lot of time. So I'm trying to see if I can fit in a children's book, and we'll see if that happens or not.
Interesting. Jeff is an illustrator, and I'm a writer.
I know, and I want to make comic books. I feel like there's something that may be coming next year, but I digress.
Interesting.
Okay, last thing I'll leave you with is some things that I try to do a lot more is working out. I'm going to the gym a lot more, trying to gain mass. It's always been something I've been insecure about. Always been like the super scrawny kid in high school, so I want to have some muscle. And then my cats. I spend a lot of time with my cats. So,
oh yeah. I spend a lot of time with your cats too.
Yeah, my cats love you, dude.
Yes, they do. I have rainbow hair all over me.
So Butters specifically is like my favorite animal I've ever had. And he's the sweetest thing. Like, you can pet him, you can hold him. He loves you. He'll hang out with you. He'll leave you alone if you don't want to be around. And he also, when he's not like providing you love and like being just like the sweetest thing, he loves torturing things. We have these like fake mice, like little toys. We have, he really likes hair ties. Anything that he can get, they can play with as if it was alive. He likes to drown them. He likes to tear the limbs off. And the way that I know that that's what he's doing is because there have been times, because he's partially outdoor cat, where he'll bring things inside. And there was a time where he brought a mouse in. And this dude, like little cat, he loves torturing animals. He keeps them alive.
I love cats, but they are evil.
Dude, they're very evil.
That might be why I love them.
And it's why I love him.
Yeah.
Because he'll be super nice to you. But you know what?
Rip the tail off a mouse.
But here's the thing. You got to remember this about your cat, is that if you died,
they'll eat you.
They'll eat you.
Within like a day, they'll eat your face.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's an accurate estimate of time, but they will eat your face.
It'll happen quicker
than you would like to.
You would like it to.
your sweet little Butters will eat your skin.
And we'll leave you with that, comic fam. We do appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us. It's always fun every single week. Do us a favor. This is the time where we ask you to do one thing for us, since you are our family here, like the real comic fam. Like, not that the other comic fam isn't real, but you guys stick with us to the very, very end, and you're listening to our audio portion. We appreciate you doing that. Hit the whatever platform you are on, please rate us. It does so much for the show. Please. There's not very many ratings, so it takes one negative rating to like tank it. So if you don't like the show and you're going to put a negative rating, we don't have a whole lot of ratings, and whatever platform that you are on, individual platforms matter. Please just give us a rating, give us that top 5 or whatever it is that the platform asks for. Give us a comment, give us some feedback. We do appreciate it.
Stars or thumbs or some other form of saying how much you like or dislike a certain show. Just rate us.
It literally, on iTunes, if you scroll to the bottom, it takes like 2 seconds. Just hit that 5-star. And you know what? It helps us dramatically. As always, comic fam, geek responsibly, and we'll see you next Sunday. We out.
Bye, meow.